Welcome back. How you doing? The red block is sorry. My face cam still isn't working. I'm sorry. I may just break down and have to get a new one. So, all right, here we go. We've got our notes and our compass and our straight edge. We're going to continue on with our exploration of different types of geometry. Let's go into our notes and see where we left off. Friday we left off right about here, yes? In my notebook, that looks like that was page 13. You'll have to leave the next page, 14, for the KWL for that lesson. You probably have a Chapter 0 test KWL page somewhere as well. So if you don't, you'll want to leave a page blank for that. That's my page 15, which means today's notes are going to start over here. On my page 16, I don't know what page that is for you. But whatever page that is, go for it. Today's lesson code is going to be C1L1A. And it's A because it's found in that same chapter and lesson in the textbook. By the way, I've got class set over there in case you want to look through it. If you need one of your very own, please go ahead and hit the book room and say, I would like to get a copy. They should still have some left. But it's A because the information that we're about to cover is found in lesson 1, but it's kind of like this side note. So it's part of this chapter, and today's lesson is entitled Construction of Congruent Segments. Please make sure you take a moment to write your content objective, the what objective, and the language objective how. They are listed on the projector under the La Feria logo. If you can't read that because it's still too small, you'll find it on the whiteboard to your left, my right. Today is the 14th of September. Segments, yes. Very messily written segments. All right, let's kick off today with our first vocabulary word. The first vocabulary word today is the word line segment. Have you heard that word before? Yes. Okay. What do you remember about that word? Nothing? Okay. Anyone else? Or everyone's kind of like, I've heard it, but I don't really remember much about it. Yeah, you're all kind of in that area? All right, no problem. A line segment is going to be a piece of a line. And unlike the word line, this is actually its formal definition. And notice that we're using one of our undefined terms to define this word. So it's a piece of a line that has two endpoints. I'd like you to take your straight edge. If you borrowed one of mine, you have the very expensive, very high-tech, very fancy popsicle stick, straight edge. The black is because it's not quite straight in that area. It's its own unique flower. And I'd like you to please draw a little line segment here. It doesn't have to be perfectly horizontal on your paper. It can be unique and do its own thing. It doesn't have to be super long either. Go ahead and use, if you'll pass this over, you can use the edge of that little pad of paper. You're welcome. That counts as a straight edge. All right, because this says it has two endpoints, we're going to go ahead and make sure that it's clear that there are points on the end of that. And points need names. A and B. Points are named with letters. Please make sure that when you write those letters, they are uppercase and they are print. If I asked you to say the name of this line segment, what would you say? Line segment AB. Very nicely done. Because there is a difference. A line goes on for infinity and beyond. And this thing doesn't. It stops somewhere. If I asked you to write the name of this line, what would you write?
Line AB.
AB with a line segment symbol on top. That's right. So A and B with a line segment on top. Note the difference between the line segment symbol and the line symbol. Line symbol is going to have arrows on the end. The line segment symbol does not. If you want to put the endpoints on there, you can. Strictly speaking, not needed. This feeling all right for you guys? All right. I'm putting a little squiggly line under that one because we are done with that concept for the moment. Here's the next vocabulary word for the day. The word is congruent. Have you heard that word before?
Yes.
Awesome. What do you remember about it?
Same size.
You know what? I like this definition. Same size, same shape. Now, strictly speaking, this isn't the formal definition. Okay? We've got to go through some steps to give you the formal definition, but this gets really at the core of what this word means. So we're going to go ahead and use it. We'll talk about that formal definition in a few days, no, a few weeks probably. It has a symbol. Do you remember what symbol we use? No. All right. Yeah, it's going to have an equals. You're correct on that. But we're going to add the little squiggly on top, the Spanish tilde that turns that turns the N into an enya, the word jalapeno into the word jalapeno.
Oh, the
Jalapeno, it's a tilde, yeah. This becomes our Mexican equal sign. All right. Feeling good about the word congruent? Yes? No? Yes? All right. We're going to go ahead and put our blue squiggly line under that one. And then give our next section of notes its own big title because we're done with kind of the important vocabulary. The title for this section of notes is going to be the construction steps for congruent segments. All right. These steps are going to be very useful when you see directions that look like this. Draw a line segment congruent to line segment AB or some other line segment name that they happen to give you. Now as I draw these steps for you, I'm going to take the left side of our note space for the notes and the description of the steps, and the right hand side of our note space for the actual drawing as we go along. So I'm going to split my note-taking section just for about 5 or 6 lines with a very faint pencil mark, just so I know más o menos where that halfway point is. You don't have to do this. I'm doing it for neatness sake, because otherwise I'll go ham and write everywhere. Step number 1. Draw a line and make this line longer than the original segment you were trying to copy. I know. So draw a line that's longer than the original segment you were trying to copy, in this case segment AB. All right, so scooting my notes down a little bit, there's my second segment AB at the very top of your screen. I want something a little bigger than that, so taking again my high-tech straight edge, Okay, I need to definitely make this thing a little longer than here. If I go almost to this little black squiggly mark that marks where my straight edge stops being straight, then that would be a good length. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter if it's perfectly vertical or if it's perfectly horizontal or if it's in sort of slant. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you get a line in there and you make sure that it's longer than this original segment that you started with. Step 2. Label one endpoint. D, she says. Thank you. Sure. Step 3. I'm going to write the thing and then I'm going to explain part of it because there's going to be a couple words in there that are kind of weird. And then we'll do the step. Okay? So what you need to do in step 3 is set your compass length, or excuse me, your compass radius to AB. Now let me take a moment and explain. Notice the difference between this segment being written and the name from step 1. Do you see the difference? Yeah, it doesn't have the line segment bar over it. You're right. It's because now I'm not talking about a specific segment. Now I'm talking about this length of the segment, the distance between its endpoints. I don't know how much that is right now. I don't have a number. It's not. I can't measure it, and I don't have a ruler right now. We'll get rulers. Right now we don't have them. If yours has a ruler, ignore that. So I can't tell you, oh, this thing is, 5 popsicle sticks long. I don't know. But I know that it has a length, and so I'm going to take my compass and we're going to set it to this length. Let's talk about this compass radius for a moment. Here's your compass. The compass is a tool that helps you draw circles, and it's composed of a needle, which is the sharp metal point, the pencil that uses to mark on, and then 2 legs. Now when you draw the circle with the compass, this becomes the middle. This doesn't move. And so the pencil marks the outside of the circle. Do you remember the name of the line that goes from the center of the circle to the outside of the circle? A radius. Diameter goes edge to edge, radius goes center to edge. Yeah. So because this ends up being the radius of the circle that gets drawn, this is what we're going to call the compass radius. Make sense?
Yes.
So we're going to go back up here to our segment AB, and we're going to set our compass radius to that length, whatever it is, by putting the needle on one point, endpoint, and stretching it or squishing it, however you need to do it, to get the pencil on the other endpoint. Now here's the tricky part. You must pick up and move your compass so the needle is on this endpoint that you just labeled, but you have to do it where the compass radius doesn't change. Okay? So you've got to pick it up. I'm holding it by just one of the legs, and I'm moving it very carefully, so that way I don't squish this radius and make it smaller or make it bigger. I need to keep that radius the same. And I'm going to get the needle right on the endpoint that I just labeled. Okay? If you feel it moved on you, go ahead and reset, go back up to the line segment, measure it again, and then very carefully get it to move. Now that we're here, we're going to rotate our compass and sweep it back and forth to draw a tiny piece of the circle called an arc so that it intersects the line that we just drew. Okay, I'm pivoting, I'm rotating around this point that it's on, around the needle, while I sweep it back and forward. And you only have to do it once, just dark enough for you to see the line. I did it several times, hopefully, so that way the projector will pick it up for you. While you're working on that, I'm going to go ahead and write those 2 steps out in words, and you can catch up with me. We'll be back in a moment. And yes, I did mean to write that one long because I'm done with my picture. And so this is forming a border. It says number 4, move needle to endpoint from step 2. Number 5, draw arc to intersect line from step 1. Step number 6, label intersection. Here's my intersection. Another point, I need a name for it. F. We'll have one more graphic with a few more points, a couple more points. So someone who hasn't had a chance to get their letter out there, when you're asked for a label, go ahead and shout that out loud and proud so we can name. Number 7, we want to write a congruence statement. What's the name of this line segment that we just constructed?
Line segment DF.
Line segment DF, and thank you so much for including the line segment. Line segment DF is congruent to?
Line segment DO.
Line segment which one?
DO.
DO?
AB.
AB, because that's the one that we use. She's like, I'm just going to go ham and it's going to be this. All right, there it is. Questions on the construction technique? No? All right. I'm going to draw a line, but I'm not going to go all the way across my paper. I'm going to stop at the vertical bar because while I'm done with this item, I'm not done with the topic because I'd like to do one last example. Bless you. This example is what happens when you get asked to draw a line segment with length 2AB. Again, notice the difference. This is talking about the distance between point A and point B. Later. Okay? It's talking about the distance between A and B. How long is this thing? How long?
2 times.
Yeah, 2 times as long as the original segment that we drew at the very top of the paper, which we named AB. So I've got to start with my construction technique. What's the first step in construction? Draw a line longer than, in this case it says AB, but I'm going to end up with something that's not as long as AB. I want something as long as 2 of those. So I've got to make sure that whatever line I draw is big enough to handle 2 of however long you made your original AB. Okay? So do that now. My popsicle stick isn't going to cut it, so I'm using my hall passes. Okay? Doesn't matter what you use as a straight edge, as long as it's straight and it has an edge and you can trace it. Straight edge. All right, what's step 2?
Is it gonna be straight?
Yeah, it needs to be straight. Yeah, you mean like this? Yes, you can totally make it horizontal. As long as it's long enough for 2 of whatever your AB to fit in it, it should be good. What's step number 2 in our construction? Label an endpoint. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. You pick whichever one you like the best. And I need a name for this point, please.
O.
I heard O. Okay, hang on to that last one. We're going to need one more point. What's step number 3? Set compass radius to AB. So go ahead and take your compass. Confirm that your compass radius hasn't changed if you didn't move it. Reset it if it did. Step number 4.
J.
What's step number 4?
Or make needle to endpoint.
Move needle to endpoint. Step,
Set compass radius.
that was step 3. We just did that one.
Draw arc.
Step 5, draw the arc. Make sure that it intersects the line that you drew. Now,
Wait, how long do I do this?
You have to set it to whatever AB is. It says here that we're done, but are we?
No.
No, because this is how many ABs?
2 ABs.
We want 2, and right now I've just done 1. So what do I need to do?
Double another one.
Okay, where do I move my compass to?
To the end point of that one.
Where?
Where the arc's at, the end of the one.
The intersection of the arc and the line. Where do I move my needle to?
Then the end of the last one.
The intersection between the arc and the line. Where do I move my compass to? All right, there's my needle now on the intersection of the arc and the line. And I'm going to draw another arc. There it is. Am I done?
No.
Well, am I done with the arcs?
Oh, the arc's, yes.
Yes, because I've done 2. Next, step number 6.
Label the intersection.
Beautiful. I have 2 intersection, which is the important one for me.
J.
The first one or the second one?
Second.
The second one, because that's where my 2AB is. All right, I need a name for this point.
J. J.
All right, J by unanimous decision. Because it does say OJ. All right, let's write our congruent statement. Now this is going to look really weird because this segment OJ doesn't have a congruence on this paper, doesn't it? But we can say that line segment OJ is congruent to 2 line segments AB, which seems a little weird, but we can say that. Any questions on constructing congruent line segments? Awesome. Are you ready for your practice classwork for the day?
Sure.
All right, gonna zoom in here to the right corner, the right-hand corner. Here's your 3-part homework or classwork assignment. First one, using your compass, please draw 10 circles, make them all different sizes.
That's it.
That's part 1. Draw 10 circles. Use your compass, make them all different sizes. Step 2, draw 4 line segments. Make them all different sizes. Use a straight edge. And last but certainly not least, construct 4 congruent line segments. Make them congruent to the line segments from the previous step. Class gets out at 2:54. It is currently 2:31. You have the rest of the class period to work on it. And if you want to be green, I have some scratch paper that you're welcome to use the back of as either practice or your final piece. Any general questions about this?
Right, so the 10 circles have nothing to do with the other one, do it?
These?
Is it that 10 circles?
Yeah, you're practicing drawing circles. The which one? Construct, yes. All right. Any other general questions about this item? Congruent line segments. Remember, it's the Mexican equals. You see it? All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much.